Thank you, Mr Speaker. I want to ask the Prime Minister about the promise he made to the British people to guarantee that no one needing care has to sell their home to pay for it. Does that guarantee still stand?
Mr Speaker, what this plan for health and social care does is deal, after decades, with the catastrophic costs faced by millions of people, the risks that they face up and down the country, that they could face the loss of their home, their possessions, their ability to pass on anything to their children. This is the government that is not only dealing with that problem, but understands that in order to deal with the problems of the NHS backlogs, you also have to fix social care. We're taking the tough decisions, Mr Speaker, that the country wants to see. We're putting another £36 billion in. And what I'd like to know from the leader of the Labour Party, Mr Speaker, is what is he going to do tonight? The silence from Mission Control in his...
Can I just say, if you don't want to hear the Prime Minister, I certainly do, and I can't hear him. It's not acceptable. Prime Minister, have you finished?
Leader of the Opposition, whether he's going to vote for our measures tonight, Mr Speaker.
I know the House has been away, but it's still Prime Minister's questions. Keir Starmer.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I noticed the Prime Minister didn't stand by his guarantee that no one will need to sell their house to pay for care. Let me explain why he didn't. Under the Prime Minister's plan, someone with £186,000, if you include the value of their home, that's not untypical across the country in all of your constituents, facing large costs because they have to go into care, will have to pay £86,000 under his plan, and that's before living costs. Where does the Prime Minister think that they're going to get that £86,000 without selling their home?
Mr Speaker, as I think everybody understood in the long debate, the long statement yesterday, this is the first time that the state has actually come in to deal with the threat of these catastrophic costs, and thereby enabling, Mr Speaker, the private sector, the financial services industry, to supply the products, the insurance products that people need to guarantee themselves against the cost of care. And what we're actually doing, Mr Speaker, is lifting the floor, lifting the guarantee for up to £100,000, where nobody has to pay anything across the entire country. And what we still have to hear from the opposition is what they would do to fix the backlogs in the NHS. And fix social care after decades of inertia and inactivity. What would he do?
Keir Starmer.
His plan is to impose an unfair tax on working people. My plan is to ensure that those with the broadest shoulders pay their fair share. That is the difference. That is the...
Order. Both sides. I need to hear the question. I also need to hear the answers. If there's some MPs who don't want to hear it, and I'm sure the constituents want to hear it, it's not good to shout either side down when they are either asking or answering a question. Please, our constituents are interested. I want to hear, and they'll want to hear. Keir Starmer.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. His plan is to impose unfair taxes on working people. My plan is to ensure those with the broadest shoulders pay their fair share. I know they don't like that debate. The truth is, his plans don't do what he claims. People will still face huge bills. Many homeowners will need to sell their homes. He's not denying it when he could have done. And the Prime Minister has failed the only test he set for himself for social care. It was in the manifesto. Another manifesto promised, Prime Minister. No good shaking your head. And who's going to pay for the cost of this failure? Working people. Under his plan, a landlord renting out dozens of properties won't pay a penny more, but their tenants in work will face tax rises of hundreds of pounds a year. A care worker earning the minimum wage doesn't get a pay rise under this plan, but does get a tax rise. In what world is that fair?
Mr. Speaker, actually, the Institute for Fiscal Studies has confirmed that this is a broad-based and progressive measure. The top 20% of households by income will pay 40 times what the poorest 20% pay. The top 14% pay half of the entire levy. Now, Mr. Speaker, he talks about his plan. Well, actually, it turns out I've been scouring the records for evidence of the Labour plan. And I found it, Mr. Speaker. In 2018, the current Shadow Secretary of State for Social Care joined forces with Nick Bowles and Norman Lamb to promote a new dedicated health and social care tax, Mr. Speaker, based on national insurance. The current, where is she? I can't see her in her place, Mr. Speaker. And she said this was to be the country's beverage moment. Well, is the Labour Party really going to vote against the new beverage moment tonight?
Mr. Speaker, let me tell you what an ambitious young member for Henley said in 2002 in this House. What he said in this House: national insurance increases are regressive. I wonder what happened to him. Mr. Speaker, if the Prime Minister is going ahead with this unfair tax, can he at least tell us this? Will his plan clear the NHS waiting list backlog by the end of this Parliament? Yes or no?
Mr. Speaker, I think the whole House, indeed the whole country, can appreciate that we at least have a plan to fix the backlogs. And we at least understand, Mr. Speaker, that the only way to fix the long-term underlying problems in the NHS, the problem of delayed discharges, is to fix the crisis in social care as well, which Labour failed to address for decades. And we're going on ahead and doing it, Mr. Speaker. And what I've just understood for him tonight, I think out of that minestrone of nonsense has floated a crouton of fact. He is going to vote against the measures tonight. They're going to vote against plans to fix the backlogs and fix social care. Vote Labour, Mr. Speaker. Wait longer.
Mr. Speaker, it was a yes-no question. You either clear the backlog or you don't. And he can't even say that he'll do that. So there we have it. Working people will pay higher tax. Those in need will still lose their homes to pay for care. And he can't even say if the NHS backlog will be cleared. Well, he gesticulates, but they're all breaking their manifesto promises and putting up taxes on their working constituents for this. And, Mr. Speaker, tax rises aren't the only way he's making working people worse off. 2.5 million working families will face a double whammy: a national insurance tax rise and £1,000 a year universal credit cut. They're getting hit from both sides. Of all the ways to raise public funds, why is the Prime Minister insisting on hammering working people?
Mr. Speaker, we're proud of what we've been doing throughout this pandemic to look after working people. We're proud of the extra £9 billion we put in through universal credit. And, Mr. Speaker, I think people in this House and across the country should know Labour wants to scrap universal credit altogether. We believe in higher wages and better skills, Mr. Speaker, and it is working. That's why we're investing in 13,500 work coaches, £3,000 a year for 11 million adults across this country to train under the Lifetime Skills Guarantee. And it's working, Mr. Speaker, because for the first time since 2019, after years and years of stagnation, you are seeing wages are rising, Mr. Speaker. Wages are rising for the lower paid. They believe in welfare. We believe in higher wages and higher skills and better jobs.
Higher wages and higher skills, he says. How out of touch he is. What do they laugh? What do they say to Rosie? What do they say to Rosie? Because Rosie's the sort of person that this impacts on. Laugh away. A single mother working on the minimum wage in a nursing home. She got in touch with me. She will lose £87 a month due to the universal credit cut. A huge amount to her. She will now also be hit with a national insurance tax rise. She's asked for more shifts, and she can't get them. She's unable to get further help with childcare. What does the Prime Minister, what does the laughter say to Rosie? This is a government that underfunded the NHS for a decade before the pandemic, took £8 million out of social care before the pandemic, then wasted billions of pounds of taxpayers' money on dodgy contracts, vanity projects and giveaways to their mates. They cut stamp duty on second homeowners, super tax deductions for the biggest companies, and now they're telling millions of working people that they must cough up more tax. Isn't this the same old Tory party, always putting their rich mates and donors before working people?
Minister.
Well, I think very sadly, Mr. Speaker, what you're hearing is the same old nonsense from Labour, because what they want to do, they want to scrap a universal credit, and I have every sympathy for Rosie, and I admire her and families up and down the land. But the best thing we can do for them is have a strong and dynamic economy. And as I speak to you now, our economy is the fastest growing in the G7, Mr. Speaker, because we've had the fastest vaccine rollout and the fastest opening up of any comparable country, Mr. Speaker. And never forget that he would have kept us in the European Medicines Agency. He attacked the vaccines task force, Mr. Speaker. And if we'd listened to Captain Hindsight in July, Mr. Speaker, we wouldn't have the fastest growing economy in the G7. We'd still be in lockdown, Mr. Speaker. It's true. And if we listened to him today, we wouldn't be trying to fix the NHS backlogs, and we wouldn't be finally dealing with social care, Mr. Speaker. This is the government that takes the tough decisions to take this country forward.